Thanks for checking out Odin Gaming. If you have a second and you love gaming, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I offer all kinds of fun content on my channel, and I truly appreciate those watching. Today I want to dive into Star Wars Jedi Survivor and do a small little review about the game. I definitely played some Jedi Fallen Order and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun game, and I was really eager to see what the sequel was going to be about, and I thought EA delivered and gave us a sequel worth getting excited over. I thought Jedi Survivor was a great improvement from Fallen Order, and I think there's a bunch of new things that enhances the gameplay, and I just want to talk about a lot of the things I enjoyed about the game and maybe get a little nitpicky about some of the other things. So just sit back and enjoy, and I'm going to tell you guys all about Star Wars Jedi Survivor and why you should be playing it.
Thanks, Pete.
One of the things they got right with this sequel is that they set it a few years later after the Fallen Order story has ended. Cal's a little stronger, a little wiser, and we don't have to go back and relearn a bunch of skills that we've already learned from the first game. And if you haven't played the first game, they do a really good job blending these new skills into the game, and they're really easy to learn. There's a really nice tutorial in the beginning through this first level, and one of the first things I learned or saw that the gameplay was better at was mobility. Cal can now get around planets a lot differently and a lot quicker, and it makes for just a better experience. The parkour is now enhanced, and now Cal can use things like a grappling gun. He can ride on mounts. He gets new boosts for jumping, and finally they gave us the fast travel that we all wanted. So now when you're on a map, you can fast travel between meditation spots that you discovered, and that was finally something we deserved as fans of the game, and I'm glad we got it. Another thing I think they got really right with this game was the enhanced combat play. Now don't get me wrong, I thought Fallen Order had sweet combat play. It was a lot of fun, and I knew that they would enhance it for Survivor, and I was just curious to see how they would do it. And I thought their idea to the approach was probably one of my favorite things in the game, and that was they gave us 5 combat stances, and you can use 2 out of the 5 at a time, and each stance gives you a different way to wield a lightsaber, and this just made the game super great, and customizing your way of fighting I thought was just another way to make this game a great sequel and a better game. And I'm just going to briefly go through the 5 stances and just tell you what I think about them, and then we'll just move on to the next thing. The first stance is the basic but effective single lightsaber stance. The Obi-Wan, the Luke Skywalker, the Old Faithful. Still great for one-on-one battle. If you like it, it's there. Next stance up is the Darth Maul double-bladed lightsaber. Now, I didn't use this one right away because I used it a lot in Fallen Order, and I kind of slept on it, and I just recently started using it, and it's way sweeter in Jedi Survivor than Fallen Order, and I highly recommend checking this stance out. The next stance after that is the double wield. It's where you rock 2 single lightsabers. This was my favorite. Less damage, but quicker posture bar breaking, and a lot of really sweet combos. Highly recommend that one. Another unorthodox one was the blaster / lightsaber. So this is where we actually get a gun and a lightsaber. It was different, but once you played around with it, it was a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. It's just something completely different. And the last one, but definitely not least, was the crossguard stance. The Kylo Ren lightsaber. Effective, powerful, badass. All these stances were a lot of fun to play with and were great for piecing up NPCs. With new lightsaber combat also comes new force combat. We get some sweet new skills that make Cal feel like a more powerful Jedi than ever before. The game did a great job letting us keep the skills from Fallen Order and adding new ones that really made Cal seem like a badass. Not only can you push or pull enemies, but now you can lift, slam, and even Jedi mind trick them to fight for you. A lot of these skills are fun to play with. I highly recommend checking them out, and most can be upgraded to affect all different types of NPCs throughout the game. Speaking of NPCs, we get some of the same old faithfuls from Fallen Order that we love piecing up, and now we also get some new challenging NPCs for Jedi Survivor. I think adding these NPCs was a great idea. I thought Fallen Order just didn't have enough NPCs. Some levels felt repetitive, some of the same NPCs felt repetitive, And now with these new additions, it feels like there's a larger diversity of enemies that you could face on any planet or level at any given time. And I think that enhances the gameplay immensely for those who thought that was lacking in the first game. Another thing I thought that lacked in Fallen Order was boss fights. I didn't think there was enough boss fights, and I thought some of the boss fights just were not very tough. And I really was hoping that was something they would address in this game, and boy did they. We now have more bosses and way tougher bosses, and these new bosses make Fallen Orders look like B1 droids. And just when I thought that those were enough improvements to make me sold on Survivor, they go ahead and added some more things to the game that made me enjoy it even more. And one of those features was the enhanced customizations. In Fallen Order, we could customize Cal's poncho, BD's paint, the Mantis's paint, and our lightsaber colors. And now we can customize Cal's clothes, hair, facial hair, how BD looks, our lightsaber colors, and our blaster colors. And I enjoyed that a lot. There's nothing like having Cal rock a mullet and a handlebar mustache while he's chopping up a bunch of stormtroopers. We can also customize BD's look and our lightsabers and blasters materials and how they look. I always enjoy when a game gives you these options. It makes you more connected to your character, and it makes the content a lot more fun because you get to goof off with all these different things that you find throughout the game, and I think that really makes the game better and just another way that they made the sequel better than the first. Now just to get a little bit nitpicky. The story I thought was decent. It held up in most parts. I thought there was some holes in some of the story that made it weaker. I thought the overall direction of the story fell short of my expectations, especially the way the game started off and where the game ended. But stories are subjective, and those who listen and watch are those get to make the opinions about them. So you might like the story more than I did. I still think the game is awesome, and I definitely will still recommend it. I just thought the story was just the one thing that just didn't surpass my expectations, or maybe even meet them. Another thing I was kind of nitpicky about is there was some areas throughout the game where there was like almost like merchants where you could like purchase things for your character, and I thought that was a great idea for the game, but I thought some of the things you could purchase were just like lame, like songs for this like DJ robot and like undershirts that are mostly covered up by the things you wear over them, just like tiny little things that just seemed pointless. But I did like the idea that they had like little merchants around the planets. Another nitpicky thing was I did have some crucial errors throughout the game, but nothing that felt like it ruined my experience. I mean, with new games you get game errors, but I had some that were like during crucial parts of the game or the story, and I also had some bosses that just like disappeared, which I've seen in Fallen Order before. So, but you know, it is what it is. But it, you know, it kind of sucks when you're fighting a boss and you're doing okay, but they just like all of a sudden disappear and they're dead and you win, which is cool. But you know, you want the experience, and it is what it is. Expected to be, you know, happening with new games, and as patches get released, I'm sure that will be less of a problem. Aside from errors, which really mess up my rhythm when I'm really getting into the game, my biggest complaint is the same as it was in Fallen Order. Why is there so much ridiculous parkour acrobatics required to get through certain levels? At first, it starts off fun, you get some new moves, you get a little rhythm going, you're like, okay, this makes sense to get through some of these levels. But then, there are times where I thought I was playing Spider-Man instead of Star Wars. I got Cal flipping through the air like he's Peter frickin' Parker, and I don't remember any Jedi having to do any kind of parkour like that through battle, aside from maybe Yoda and Darth Sidious, and Cal makes Yoda look like he's just a walk in the park with all that frickin' parkour that Cal has to do. So I don't know what's up with it. I'm getting sick of it. I hope they tone that back. Overall, I think Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a very good game. I think with the new planets and levels, NPCs, bosses, side characters, and all the other things I mentioned in this video, This game is definitely going to be worth the $80 you spend to play it. I highly recommend it. I think it's a solid 8 or 9 out of 10, arguably. I think it's just as good as the Horizons and the God of Wars that have come out recently. I think it should even be nominated for Game of the Year as of today, as of the games that are out. Fallen Order was nominated, and I think this game is way better and surpasses all the marks of the previous game. If you're a Star Wars fan, I think you would love this game. It's definitely worth checking out. It might arguably be the best Star Wars game ever released, but that'll have to be for a different video. For those of you watching, just want to say thank you. Hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't, and thanks for watching Odin Gaming.